Hi everyone, welcome back. This is Felix here at the Heart Center. Um, it's a little bit, not really an impromptu video today, but I really felt called to work on this. As I've noticed a lot of disharmony through 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 the collective fields, and really understanding the whole gender principles ideology. So it's my intention today to really explore and understand from a neutral, non-judgmental perspective, to really understand from different sides the gender principles, where it's coming from, and also the woke agenda as well. I know I'm a little bit late to the to the party with this one, but the more I've kind of healed myself and opened myself up, the more I've been able to see and understand layers of distortion within the realities, I suppose. So really looking at this, I suppose I can start with the Hermetic principles. And one of the teachings in that is gender is in everything. Everything has a masculine and everything has a feminine principle, and gender together manifests on all planes. Okay, so this is coming through the teachings of Hermes Trismegistus within the Kybalion. Okay, so what I've been really drawn to looking at is the kind of history of trans within religious and esoteric backgrounds, but also to kind of understand why, not just trans, but also the whole entire LGBT and every other letter there is, and the plus sign, why this was brought in to our realities, into our world. And I'm coming from the letter G in the alphabet. I have been, since I can remember, always been gay. So I've kind of like reflected on this from my own perspective, but I've also spoken to others and what their take is on like the woke agenda. Now, like I said in one of my previous videos, I did the whole Gay Pride March in Manchester in August, and it was just wonderful. So nice to see everyone coming together within that community, and really lifting the spirit of the city. Now, excuse me, getting the alchemical transfers already. So the first thing I found with that experience, it was such a healing experience for so many, because all have incarnated through that blue within their blueprint, hold a very strong amount of persecution within their structure to clear. And really we can see this whole movement as a kind of modality of purifying that persecution, purifying the fear and the judgment and the aggression that has been placed upon the community for so long. So I was really drawn to look into where a lot of this persecution stemmed from, and where the origins of the different letters kind of play into things. So it's interesting because I was speaking with Indigo Angel, I think it was last Thursday, and we were discussing this topic actually, because she had done a video about the inverted rainbow structure, which she got a lot of backlash from. And then she has very valid points in that, and I will say, I've noticed she talks about a society of gay men, I believe drag queens, I can't remember, it was a couple of months ago when I watched the video. I will link it below because it is definitely worth the watch. And with these men, it was their intention to go out and destroy and pervert and bring crude topics and belief systems into the world, to really break down societal norms, by let's say disrupting the natural ecosystem, which I understand, I get. These people, they've been very, very damaged to have to go down this route. They've been very manipulated and had to endure a lot of stuff. So if you think about the service to self structure, the service to self, or the cabal, if you will, they endure horrific things that happen to them with the intention to really amplify that level of heaviness and density within their field, within their structure, to really gain the abuse and then to become the abuser, essentially. So that being said, I find with these people, this group in particular, it's just, there's been one big perpetuation where this kind of abuse is pushed on to one another within the community. So, and we see this coming through. I mean, when I was growing up, I had so much, it was horrible. And it really kind of led me to understand that I didn't want to be within that. I didn't want to, I didn't feel like I deserved to be treated that way. So I learned that, and I managed to pull myself away from this. So, you know, persecution within your own system, within your own structure, it's like a really horrible thing to kind of endure. So as I was looking at these wounds energetically and where they really stem from, the persecution wounds are the tribalism and attacking within your own structure. I was opening this and finding it going grid, looking into persecution templates from like the World War II locations. I was seeing Pol Pot in, I believe it's Cambodia, and the Chairman Mao kind of ethnic cleansing upon their own people. It's very interesting when you go back through history and you kind of identify these little traits and look at them in in an energetic form, because it pulls you out and you can see the origins of where they really stem from. So without losing my train of thought as to where I'm kind of going with this, when I've looked at these kind of people that are carrying such heavy persecution and pain, it really stems to these genocidal acts, these persecution acts that have been carried through the Earth's memory field and connected into the blueprint and the templates of souls incarnating again and again. Now, as this has really kind of like developed, as this has really kind of developed over time, it's made me kind of look into understanding why we've chosen to really kind of hold these things. It sounds crazy, doesn't it? Why would anybody want to experience these things? But it's not only like a banishment, it's to push us into a level where we can grow from it, where we can kind of break it down, dissolve it, and learn from it, not to become those kind of abusers again that were experiencing this previously, and working through this previously. So I remember, because I was living in China for about 5 years, and there was one girl, she was a trans girl, and in fact, I believe she was the first trans girl in China who actually had the operation. And I just like, I couldn't believe it. I was so impressed that she was absolutely sticking it to the CCP, sticking it to the communist regime, sticking it to everyone else there. She gave no shits. And it was very empowering and a blessing to be her friend when I was living there. So as I was looking into this, she had undergone so much abuse and so much persecution, so much torture. She couldn't even speak to her family. She went to Thailand for the operation, and when she messaged me saying that she'd actually finally had the operation, I was like, oh my God, this is incredible, well done. So that being said, it's like, looking in these organic blueprints, there is a big portion of people that hold this LGBT template, this template as a push for diversity. It's a push to help people to come into acceptance for others. It's a push to help people expand themselves into new levels of love. So with that understanding that there are many that do hold this, I kind of looked into a little bit further back. Now, again, I'm going to give props to Indy for this. The second root race, the Hyperboreans, they actually were of both gender. And if we are to evolve from, or were to evolve from them, so we've got the Polarians, the Hyperboreans, then Lemurians, then Atlanteans, then the Aryans. The Hyperboreans actually carried both genders and and they reproduced by themselves, I believe, from what I've researched anyway. Yeah, so the Hyperboreans were both genders. This made me look all the way back to the very origins, of humanity. And when I found this, I was like, oh, okay, right. So there is like evidence of this within like the original seedings the seedings of Earth. So I found that very, very interesting. And now fast forward to, I think, let me just double check this. I want to get all my timelines correct. Fast forward to 400, I think it's, 400 BCE and 200 CE. I'm not entirely sure what that means. I just know it's a very long time ago. And we're looking to India here. There is a trans community, an India's trans women community called Hijra. And they had been a part of the subcontinent for about as long as the civilization has. Recorded history of over 4,000 years of being mentioned in ancient texts. And the Hijra community is a testament to sexual diversity that is integral yet often forgotten in Indian culture. So I like knowing this, I found it very, very interesting to see how far back this kind of stems. So we're looking originally, we've got the Hyperborean root race. 4,000 years ago, we've got the Hijra community in India. And even the Hijra community, they were quite famous for holding significant roles in some of the most important Hinduism texts, including the Mahabharata. I apologize if I butchered that. But one of the well-known facts about this is that one of the many forms of Shiva, the principal deity, includes him merging with his wife Parvati to become the androgynous Ardhanari. So this holds very significant significant relevance to the Hijra community. And I believe that they're actually still treated as well respected in doing blessings and things like that. So that in and of itself, to break down, I find very, very interesting how it's celebrated. And also moving over to the native shamanic tribes, that we've got the two-spirit. Now, the two-spirit are treated as both male and female, where they really they act as both mother and father. They act as the spiritual healer. They act as the visionary. They act as the person who people would confide in and come to for emotional support and divine connection. So all of that kind of going on there. Now, this I feel is very important to bring to light and to really understand that particularly I've noticed, and again, once again, with no disrespect, but to the conspiracy group, it's been taken now that not all, but I've seen a lot of conspiracy theorists that are very against the whole trans ideation, which I think is important to highlight here. But they do hold very valid points as well, which I will get into. So it's important just to kind of identify where they're coming from with this. Now, the occultic side of things with this is particularly negative occultic. There is an entity called the Baphomet, which, as I say that now, I'm not calling it in. I am just asking reference, and I have asked for protection within this meeting today, this video today. Now, this entity is both genders, both man and woman, and this entity is worshipped and is called upon with blood sacrifice. So, you know, when they look at it from that side of it, then yeah, I understand where they're coming from. But it doesn't, I feel that it needs to be kind of highlighted that not every side of things, if we see them in the media and whatnot, or see the people in the media, they're not all going to be assigned to that, because it is the celebrities that kind of push these trends and stuff. So anyway, I digress a little bit, but I will kind of touch back into that later on. The yeah, the occultic side, it does play significance. So looking at kind of trans today, we've got a mixture of organic blueprints. Take my friend, for example, who was there to show diversity to a nation that is forced to think in a very specific way. It's forced to think in a very structured way, which doesn't host a lot of diversity or kind of wider thinking. A lot of the information over there is heavily censored, as we all know. Particularly with the platform this is going to be posted on, we've got similar issues going on there. So yeah, she's come out there and she's transformed herself to live as her expression, her soul expression, what her soul desires, which I think is very important to kind of highlight here, where we can really dive in and look at we can look at the understanding of that a little bit. So if we really take gender for what it is, we have males and women, men and women, and then intersex. Intersex, completely natural. Personally, I don't like the term intersex. I prefer the term hermaphrodite, as Marguerite Ragioli, again, I apologize if I butcher the name, states as hermaphrodites is just the combination of goddess Aphrodite and the god Hermes together. Whereas if we look at the rest of the letters, transgender, non-binary, two-spirit, and so on, really it is an expression of the soul, because it's how you choose, how, number one, it's a pre-incarnate blueprint that's been designed before you enter. So it takes physical change to do that, to really embody it and move forwards and come into your full expression, when then you are living your life as your design, as your incarnated design. It's an expression of spirit. So, you know, I was really diving into this and finding it. I'm going to be honest with you. I find a lot of this quite challenging, because it's challenging my belief systems of what I used to think was right and what I used to think was wrong. But now I've kind of come into a place of neutrality with it all and understanding to see where it's all come from all angles. So yeah, I did find this very challenging to digest at first, but seeing it from all these different points of view has helped me kind of neutralize to the whole thing, and then become into a level of acceptance and unity. So as I was kind of diving into this whole understanding the expression of self, it's really cropped to me this kind of woke agenda, like the woke agenda ideology, I was looking at this as well to go with it. So from one side of things, a big portion is coming to understand, to raise awareness and acceptance for all, in every kind of situation. But you know, the toxicity with that is, well, not really the toxicity of it. It's like when a person who is unhealed, unintegrated, and still in pain from their experiences, if somebody doesn't come and accept this and they go against what they're saying, then it becomes a toxic snowball, and gathers momentum to attack. Now, looking at this in the media, we can see people getting cancelled, going through the cancel culture, when inherently they should be able to kind of express themselves exactly how they feel. If they don't agree with something, then really they should not be cancelled for it, but understood why. And when they understand the why part, that's really when the growth is going to set in. So if we take J.K. Rowling as an example here, we can look at how when she expressed her self against the trans community, where's she coming from with this? Like, she's coming as a woman who's feeling like she's having a part of her taken away from her by a man. Now, looking back over history, there have been countless times, I mean, literally countless times, again and again and again, looking back to Mary Magdalene, twin flame of Yeshua, called a whore, covered up, mistreated, abused, as complete degradation of the feminine. Now, this needs to be said, this needs to be heard by all communities, needs to be understood. Like, J.K. Rowling, I understand where she's coming from with this, because you look to the swimmer, Leah Thomas, for example. She was in, I believe she was in the Olympic swimming team as a woman competing with women. However, she's a trans woman. Her body stature doesn't biologically add up. This makes it an unfair match to the female swimmers. It makes it an easy win for her. And essentially, from what I remember in the media, it was pretty much siding with her without taking acknowledgement for the women who have trained so hard to compete against their own biological stature, their own biological physicality, you know. So it's complete imbalance. And anybody that was coming against them or coming against her was branded as toxic, and cancelled. So that being said, it's like, where does this woke agenda kind of really sit with this? It's like, is it actually for a positive use, or is it a hijacking to control speech, to control people's thoughts, to control the way people express themselves? I even remember when I worked in fashion, the marketing team, they wanted to use, maybe I've got this written down. They wanted to bring up this topic and debate about like the trans in sport, because I was designing for a sportswear brand. They wanted to use like the trans as the trans community, so as a kind of push for diversity for the company, which number one, I don't think is right anyway, because when it's not for the community at all, it's not for a push for diversity, it's a push for sales first and foremost. And secondly, they want to kind of virtue signal in a way to say, oh, look how diverse we are, without actually taking any consideration into the bigger picture, into the bigger debate as to what is actual equality here, because it is again an equality battle, and a feminine yeah, I'm not at the border yet. It is a kind of diminishing of the feminine. It's singling them out and closing them down. So that being said, it really kind of sit with me as I was kind of working through this and understanding and defining what really goes on here. Okay. So with all of these kind of medias pushing all of this diversity, pushing all of this kind of stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, I am all for diversity and expressing yourself exactly the way you are. But if it's coming through a lens that is coming from a place of manipulation to control exactly how they want you to think, exactly how they want you to be perceived, and the way pushing you towards a specific narrative, I am not for that whatsoever. So looking back to my friend in China, complete organic blueprint design. This is her design. This is exactly the way that she wanted to go, and I fully support that. Like, and I feel like it's very important just to kind of raise that awareness and see how we've all got these kind of journeys, and we've got these kind of special paths that we take. But looking at this kind of woke agenda, or the push for diversity and inclusivity, and if you don't agree with me, then you're toxic and I don't want to talk to you ever again, kind of thing, we can see how this is really developed and then became a trend. And again, working in fashion, I had to look at the macrocosm of the world to identify popularity and trends within certain subsections, one of which, as an example, was the metaverse, how we are being pushed to go digital. We're being pushed to buy expensive clothes for avatars on the metaverse. It's ridiculous. Really expensive clothes, expensive prices for an artwork design that you're never going to wear. It's going to be living on a computer, and you live vicariously through that. Makes no sense. It really doesn't. It's a massive distortion. So when we look to this this trend that's been sweeping across the globe, celebrities with their children coming out as this, we've got wokey TV shows throughout the media, push for diversity here and there, and like, you know, it's very much in your face. It must be accepted. A lot of these shows actually have symbol codes within them and subliminal programming as well, that imprints into your consciousness, into your blueprint, into your energetic fields, that leads you into a layer of entrapment as well. I will just add on that as well. So all of this stuff is coming through the media, the kids are really picking it up. I looked on the government website today as well, and the sexual education is now to be taught. The level of diversity is to be chosen by a teacher or by the school, which in and of itself, if we've got a heavily biased teacher and one who hasn't had the understanding of the psyche of a child, the psyche and energy of a person in general, what they're doing is essentially pushing all of their own beliefs onto the child themselves. And I believe there is actually quite a few cases of this now, particularly in America, where the teachers are pushing all of their own beliefs onto the children, and it's becoming a very left-leaning bias to the on the child. So with that being said, if we really go into the sexual education, there's no differentiation between biological and going into the expression of the soul teaching. So we're looking at the biological, intersex, males and females, or the expression of the soul, transgender, non-binary, two-spirit, hydra, etc., and the rest of the letters and stuff. So to understand this, what this is actually doing for many of the children, which I'm also hearing about from friends, that they're having their children or children's friends coming out as trans at really, really young ages, and they're getting chased out of the park with knives. What kind of environment is that for a child to really grow up in? Because this is coming through the media, this is coming through diversity programs to become more inclusive, without taking in the risk factor that may harm the child. I was reading about one girl, or she's a girl now, trans girl, who is, I think she's about 14 years old. She was 9 when she transitioned, which really says to me, like, where are we sat here? Like, if people aren't allowed to get tattoos until they're 18 years old, why the hell are they being allowed to have gender reassignment surgery without being really given time to think about what it is that they are doing to their bodies, without understanding the divine masculine, divine feminine principles internally that everybody has, without understanding the biological implementations, what the procedures will do and how that would affect their body afterwards as well. They're not being told this kind of stuff. So when I was doing my research for this, I'm seeing videos of people saying that they were rushed into gender reassignment surgery by healthcare professionals, systems, and now detransitioning because they haven't really grasped the whole idea of what it's all about. They haven't grasped and understood the seriousness of changing the body. They haven't understood the core world wounding that has came in through the hybridization programs of Atlantis, the Ahriman consciousness of, well, transhumanism. And I will reference the video from Gigi Young here as well, which is a fabulous video. It was so great, very, very informative. I highly recommend her as a teacher. Very, 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 very good study on it. Just to really identify and see where these wounds are coming in from and how they are now impacting the kids today, without having that understanding of where they are actually from, what is going on within them. You know, there's the list really goes on here. And what I've seen as a healer, as a clairvoyant, and a channel, through hybridization programs, and healing hybridization wounds, it is really a genetic splicing of information to create something that is not of God, that is not of organic intelligence, that is not of source, you know. And this really does dive back into the Ahriman consciousness, which is the finding God within the particle rather than within the entirety of the existence. You know, again, I will reference Gigi Young's video for that. So I feel it's very important just to kind of shine a light onto this topic today. And it is my intention to bridge that understanding and the unification and see where these children are really coming from, see where people are coming from, so we can really understand their pathway and walk in their shoes, so to speak. Understand where they're at in their lives and how we can compassionately bridge the understanding together. Okay, so this whole media situation, pushing diversity, making these things cool. I mean, when I was a kid, I always remember that I would be picked up from nursery wearing a princess dress and, you know, expressing myself the way that I wanted to be expressed. I wanted to be Princess Peach, I'm not going to lie. Super Mario Brothers, who wouldn't want to be her? She has a dress that can fly and she gets to eat mushrooms. And not going to lie, I did the mushrooms later in life, but as a child, no. But, you know, from that experience, I would not choose to go down that pathway of transitioning, because how intensely hard it would be and how difficult it would be to really find yourself within that, and how uncomfortable it would be. And I honestly, I've got so much respect for the organic trans template. I really do. I mean, so much respect for the struggles they've gone through with it and not knowing who they are. I really do. For my friend in China, take my hat off. Oh my God, going through that in that country, unbelievable. It's incredible what she's done to show diversity in a country that doesn't know diversity. You know, it's a very, I take my hat off to her. But I also heavily acknowledge how this is impacting the feelings of women, which I absolutely agree with as well, and needs to be heard and validated as to where their wounding sits with this as well, and how they should be heard. So taking a reference back, now this is just one little thought that I had if we look back to the Hijra community being seen as the third gender, would that possibly be a method, a possibility for stability the um, within the world? I don't see a problem with that, you know. And then it's just a case of tuning up the discernment to learn what is your true core soul expression. You know, there's so many nuances and variations we can really look at and see within ourselves. And I guess it's really where you feel comfortable in, but really like I said, my intention for this is to bridge the heart to mind and to gain that compassionate understanding for all beings to come together with this and get that understanding as to where these little bits and bobs come from. Yeah. So touching back onto the children here, I'm seeing lots of videos of kids, teenagers, young adults, talking about their experiences having been rushed into reassignment, and saying how awful their experience has been. So what do we do about that? Maybe implement a spiritual understanding within the reassignment program to expand on the teachings, the inner teachings of who we truly are. You know, all of this stuff is hidden for a purpose. Maybe it's time to bring it to the forefront for the masses, and to really break down the structure of the psyche, break down the structure of the body, and go into the subtle energy bodies and bring it into the mainstream curriculums. You know, all of these things, I feel they're on the way. I feel they're going to be here. Give it 2 years. I feel a lot of these agendas, the wokey agenda, is going to be seen towards the end of next year. Not just by myself, but understood by general population. And I think that would be a really fantastic way to move out of this state of mind control and into a state of understanding, compassion, and growth. So, whew, that was a lot, guys. I hope that I've grasped everything here today. I feel like we've got a good touch on this. We've understood deeper into the woke agenda, into the cancelling of free speech by cancelling the person. We've touched on the children. We've touched on the women. We've touched on the organic and the manipulated, or the organic blueprint and the hijacking. So yeah, I feel good about this, and I really, really, really hope that we can move forwards in a bridge of union to one another and understand. So that being said, I'm going to love you and leave you all. I will send out the energy report on the 1st. Kiara smart borias na atayin na smaatia pahuturushusus no utapunus mo kinas na atara. Samurai na atia tarashmasma atapunus no ukumos mo utara na haike kirashne isimya atabarasni atapuhunus mo utpria. Sia tarasna atapunya anas maatira pahonya amas maayan tarashesya atarasna atapunya amas mo ukupo utoya. Si hedrish na isinya on na mahia au yotoi. I love you guys. Bye.